Had an experience in Mongolia where it wasn't that way. The UN had a lot of money, and it wasn't a grassroots development, and it basically sort of fizzled out. It didn't.
Yeah,
it didn't
it
take
fizzled
off.
out because there wasn't the grassroots development. And this whole, when you go into a new community, they've never heard of straw bale, and that's why we were doing, you know, 5 to 10 houses that first year, because maybe we could only find 5 or 10 people that wanted to do it, and maybe they were even getting their arms bent a little bit to do it, quite frankly. I mean, what do they know? And in China, as in the US, your home is your largest investment. Why would you want to gamble with your largest investment? Well, unless you're getting 2/3 of it paid for. So we also had, over the years, you know, when we first went into a community, we would have a higher subsidy, maybe even up to 40%. And then after there were 10 houses there and everybody could see how they did through the winter, the next year that subsidy might drop to 30%, and we'd do 25 houses. Then the next year we might do 75 houses, but the subsidy would drop to 25 or 20% because they saw the history. Yeah, there was. And what we've found, you ask about results, what we've found is compared to the brick houses, the straw houses of a same size, of a same use, with the same amount of people in them, with the same kind of heating systems, would use between 65 to 70% less heating energy than a brick house.
Wow.
So they're saving
huge.
65 to 70%. Yeah, it is huge. And what that means is, like, a brick house would be burning maybe 3 tons of coal per year. All that particulate matter, that would be like 3.6 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere, all the mining associated with coal, etc. And the straw bale houses of the same size, maybe the first year there's a lot of moisture in the plaster yet, people don't know how to use an insulated house, they'd probably burn a ton of coal compared to the 3 tons in the brick house, and then they would be burning some crop waste, you know, corn stalks, wheat straw, sorghum, you know, whatever they were growing.
Whatever biomass
Yeah,
they had.
yeah. But then by the second or third year, they wouldn't be burning any coal at all anymore.
Wow.
So they're on an annual carbon cycle. They grow the crop over the summer, it absorbs the CO2. They burn it in the winter, the CO2 comes off. But then the next summer they grow it again. So they're on this annual cycle, not putting CO2 into the atmosphere and a lot less particulate matter into the atmosphere, and avoiding all the mining and the transportation costs associated with, you know, bringing coal from someplace else.
So has that elevated their
standard of living?
Standard of living,
definitely.
You know, beyond their comfort level, which I understand too, that their comfort level, not only have they reduced their heating need, but their comfort level inside the home?
Yes, has certainly gone up, and you don't have all the particulate matter associated with burning coal in the house as well. I don't know if, I don't know if you've ever heated with coal, but
I spent my childhood heating
with coal. It's pretty noxious stuff.
It is.
You know, it has a definite, and this is high sulfur coal, it has a definite smell, you know, you are aware of it, and when you cough something up or when you blow your nose, it's black. It's black. It's not a pretty sight.
Right. So the other result was earthquake resistance, right?
Yeah. Certainly the first school that we built in China, we had the opportunity to build it because there had been an earthquake, and so a lot of the schools had come down, and that provided the opening to build this school. And it went through, the school has gone through a 5.6 earthquake, 5.6 on the Richter scale, without any damage at all, which is pretty amazing. Since then, without any damage. You know, I would expect at least some cracking, but I think the plaster is so thick. There wasn't any cracking. And also we had, you know, because it was a lightweight steel frame with a wrap, bale wrap, it's a real consistent substrate. The other thing is that compared to like a load-bearing brick, the bales are just a lot less brittle. They're more resilient. Even if a bale house came down, you would have at least a minute to get out of it before it started.
Ductile quality.
Yeah, it's very
ductile.
ductile.
Some of the energy from the movement of the earth before failing.
Before failing, exactly.
Very
so
brittle.
Yeah, and the other thing is the bales. They're you know, they're just stuck together a little bit better because of just the mechanical roughness between them than say bricks would be with mortar. So the bricks, it's very brittle, and they're not stuck together, and they're much smaller pieces. They're gonna, the walls are, and also the walls are heavy. A brick wall falls on you, you're dead. A bale wall falls on you, you might have a chance, but it's gonna, if it fails, number one, it's not gonna fail as easily, and number two, it's gonna fail much more slowly. So you would have more time to get out of your house.
Let me ask you, if there was someone who was going to go work in a situation similar to what you dealt with, what would be your advice to them?
I would go in and I would start by asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of observation to begin with. That would be the first stage. Find out what the building techniques are.
You mean you wouldn't go in and just have this idea and
No, no, no. In fact, I just wrote this email to this woman in southern China, and she was saying, well, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I wrote to her and I said, well, what do the local people want to do? Because, you know, you need to find out what the local needs are, what are the biggest issues for them, start with that, and then what are the local solutions? Because, you know, I could go in there and I have my whole history of straw bale building in the U.S., and I know what I would do in the U.S., but the materials are different. The skills that the contractors bring to it are different. The aesthetics are very different. The desires of the people are different. And so you need to start where people are, find out what they want, and then move from there into a project where you can just provide as much technical support, make sure they're not making any huge big errors. But above and beyond that, you really want them to be designing the project and building the project and putting the project in place, because you're not going to be there. And if you want this to continue, it needs to be based in a local tradition, not really coming from outside. So I always, when I start my trainings, I say, I have very specific technical knowledge that can make this project work. But, you know, that's like maybe 5 or 10% of the project. The rest of the knowledge that we make this project to work is in you guys, and it's just a matter of organizing it and figuring it out and putting it to use.
So you're really listening and then empowering.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, great.
Oh.
That's very good.